Simulan mong abutin ang iyong pangarap na magbibigay dangal sa iyong bukas. Ang suliranin, hindi laging nandyan, dapat mong harapin. Kami iyong kasama sa bawat takin, magkaakbay nating lulutasin. Dito sa Fernandino Teens TV, ang boses mo ay mahalaga. Dito sa Fernandino Teens TV, ikaw lagi ang bida. Ang mga aral ay ginintuang atin ng bawat guro na siyang gagabay sa iyong pagkamulat. Naway umukit ito sa iyong isipan, maging mapanuri, sundin ng wasto at nararapat. Kagandahang asal ang ipakita, ipadama ang pusong may malasakit. Dito sa Fernandino Teens TV, ang boses mo ay mahalaga. Dito sa Fernandino Teens TV, ikaw lagi ang bida. Sakali mang tayo'y subukin ng unos, ating haharapin ng walang takot. Sasamahan ka ni Fernan at Dino, ang bagong barkada mo. Dito sa Fernandino Teens TV, boses mo ay mahalaga. Dito sa Fernandino Teens TV, edukasyon mo'y sigurado na. Dito sa Fernandino Teens TV, boses mo ay mahalaga. Dito sa Fernandino Teens TV, edukasyon mo'y sigurado na.
Fernandino Teens TV.
Guys, alam nyo ba na ang magiging talakayan ngayong araw ay tungkol sa mga transitional devices?
Oo nga, excited na nga akong makinig at manood eh.
Ako rin. Gusto ko ring malaman kung ano-ano, kailan, at bakit ginagamit ang mga transitional devices sa pagsasalita at pagsulat.
Mag-ready na tayo ng papel at panulat para sa mga activities.
Tama ka dyan. O ano, ready na ba kayo? Tara!
Let's watch and learn!
A pleasing and safe morning, Fernandino teens. Connect with me as we discover some words that connect in the field of grammar. I am Ma'am.
Marilyn, is that you?
Oh, Ma'am Ivy, it's you. What are you doing here?
I was walking on the bridge and happened to meet an African who asked me to connect his smartphone to the Wi-Fi.
Did you just mention the words African, bridge, and connect? What a coincidence! Those are the keywords for my lesson today. Would you like to join me?
Sure, how I love to.
So, let us start. Once again, I am Mom Marilyn together with
Ma'am Ivy, and we are your virtual teachers for today.
Let us start by reading an excerpt about a famous African author. Take extra notice of the underlined words. Later, we shall answer some questions. A fable on how humans learn to walk upright is the most translated short story in African history, according to the group that published it. The piece was written by award-winning veteran Kenyan author Ngugi wa Thiong'o and published by the Pan-African collective Gelada Africa. To begin with, we've asked around people who have studied and practiced literary translations for a while, and there is no mention of a work of short fiction with as much translations, said Moses Kilolo, the managing editor. Then, Kilolo says the piece also holds the record for the most translated standalone short piece of fiction in history. Also, the American Translation Committee says that whether or not the Googie story is the most translated story ever may be impossible to determine. Numerous sources consider the Bible as the most translated book of all time. In addition, Googie, 78, decided not to write in English since the late 1970s, producing award-winning novels and plays in his first language, Gikuyu. Moreover, Kilolo says they hope to encourage more people in Africa to write in their languages and to translate more. But if there are lessons in the story itself, it was not the basis of the selection. Lastly, he said, we wanted a story that could be read for its own beauty, and that could be told in the other languages, in different cultures, and still retain its magic. Before we answer the comprehension questions, let us do a vocabulary check. A fable is a short story that tells a moral truth, often using animals as characters. Fiction is a type of book or story that is written about imaginary characters and events and not based on real people and facts. Numerous means many. May those words be added in your vocabulary deposit, Fernandino teens. And now, let us answer some motive questions. You may type your answers in the comments box below. To begin with, what was the excerpt all about? Yes, you're right. The excerpt was about an African fable on how humans learn to walk upright. Let us have the next question. According to Moses Kilolo, what makes the fable exceptional? This one is a possible answer. The fable is exceptional because it holds the record for the most translated standalone short piece of fiction in history. We are down to our last question. Notice the underlined words. They are positioned at the beginning of each sentence, right? Do you think the underlined words were used properly? If yes, why? Yes, Fernandino teens. They were used properly because they help in introducing the thought of each sentence. They also maintain the smooth flow of thoughts. Now, before we continue, Mom Ivy will present the objectives for today's learning episode, titled Using Signals That Indicate Coherence.
The objectives of today's learning session are the following. First, identify the different signals for different purposes. Second, determine the type of transitional device or signal used. Third, define transition, its importance and functions. Lastly, use transitional signals to achieve coherence.
If you were able to answer my questions, then you are doing just great. However, in this lesson, you will determine what types of transitional devices or signals are the underlined words. Were they used to show addition, cause and effect relationship, conditional statement, sequential pattern, or to clarify? We will find out in the next activity. But for now, we will pause for a short break. See you later when Fernandino Teens TV Season 2 returns.
Ang Schools Division Office City of San Fernando, Pampanga ay kaisa ng Department of Education sa pagsasagawa ng mga proyekto at programa na tumutugon sa mga pangangailangan ng mga mag-aaral. Inilunsad ang Division Call Center for Tutors and Guidance Counselors upang magbigay ng educational at psychological assistance sa mga mag-aaral, magulang at stakeholders ng Division. Kaya, kung may nais kayong itanong tungkol sa pag-aaral, maaaring magpadala ng mensahe sa Division Call Center for Tutors and Guidance Counselors Facebook page o tumawag sa mga numero na makikita sa ibaba ng inyong screen tuwing Lunes hanggang Biyernes sa ganap na alas 8 ng umaga hanggang alas 6 ng gabi. Maaari rin kayong sumangguni sa ating guidance counselors na nagbibigay ng guidance and counseling services. Lahat ng inyong ibabahagi ay mananatiling confidential. Ang nasabing programa ay nagsisilbing daan upang malaman ang feedbacks ng stakeholders para matulungan ang ating divisyon na mapagbuti pa ang mga sumusunod na programa. Ano pang hinihintay ninyo? Tumawag na sa aming mga numero o bumisita na sa aming Facebook page at magpadala ng inyong mga katanungan.
Fernandino Teens TV.
You are still watching Fernandino Teens TV Season 2. Before the break, I mentioned that there are various types of cohesive devices. In the next activity, you will determine what types of transitional devices or signals are the underlined words. Were they used to show addition, cause and effect relationship, conditional statement, sequential pattern, or to clarify? Type your answers in the comments box below. First is the word also. Great! It is used to show addition. Second is the word then. Very good! It is used to show sequential pattern. Third is the word lastly. That is nice! It is used to show sequential pattern as well. Fourth is the word moreover. Excellent! It is used to show addition, just like the word also. All of the mentioned words in the activity are used to connect ideas to achieve coherence. Would you like to know more about them? At this point, listen as I present the following key points to understand the definition of transition or cohesive devices, its importance and functions. You will also be acquainted with some examples of the different types of transitions. Transitional or cohesive devices are words or phrases that help carry a thought from one sentence to another, from one idea to another, or from one paragraph to another. They also smoothly link sentences and paragraphs together so that there are no abrupt jumps or breaks between ideas. So, what do you think are the importance and functions of cohesive devices? Cohesive devices are so important because they take the reader or listener from one idea to another. Without them, sentences would be singular and would not connect and flow. Cohesive devices can create a natural way of delivering information. The use of transition words also serves as a way to prevent having to mentally jump from one sentence or paragraph to another, giving the listener or reader greater ease. There are various types of cohesive devices. Allow us to share them as well with you. The first type is the additives. This type of cohesive device shows addition, introduction, or similarity to another ideas. Examples are in fact, also, and likewise. More examples are shown in the table. Can you pick one and use it in combining sentences? Let me have one example. The Franciscan Sisters of the Immaculate Conception started adult literacy classes for communities of indigenous people in mountain villages of Subic town. Moreover, they ran a school for the younger generations. What cohesive device is used in the example statements? Very good! The cohesive device is moreover. The second type are the causatives. These cohesive devices show cause and effect or reason and result relationship. Examples are in hence, so, and therefore. More examples are shown in the table. Let me have an example of a relationship using one of the example cohesive devices. 1/3 of the deaths due to non-communicable diseases such as chronic respiratory diseases are premature and occur before the age of 70 years. Consequently, it affects productive individuals economically. Can you guess the cohesive device in the example statements? That is great! The cohesive device consequently shows causative relationship between the two statements. Now, let us proceed with the third type. This type is called conditional or concessional cohesive devices. These are cohesive devices that establish the condition or bring into consideration another viewpoint. Examples are otherwise, however, and certainly. You may look at the table for more examples. Here is an example where a cohesive device classified in this type is used. In eastern Mindanao, 474 families are displaced due to armed conflict between the armed forces of the Philippines and New People's Army since February 2018. However, the government provides them their necessities. Can you guess the cohesive device in the example statements? You got it! Notice that the cohesive device, however, shows the conditional or concessional relationship between the two statements. Ma'am Ivy, can you discuss the remaining ones?
Sure, Ma'am Marilyn. Let me continue with the fourth one. These cohesive devices are called sequential devices. They show a chronological or logical sequence. Examples are to begin with, next, and finally. There are more examples in the table. Let me provide you an example using one of those. Initially, there is a continuing program of urban land reform and housing. Then, it will make available at affordable cost decent housing and basic services to unprivileged and homeless citizens in urban Initially, there is a continuing program of urban land reform and housing. Then, it will make available at affordable cost decent housing and basic services to underprivileged and homeless citizens in the urban centers and resettlement areas. Can you identify the two cohesive devices that show chronological or logical sequence? You are right. They are initially and then. Let us have another type. This is the fifth type called clarification cohesive devices. These are cohesive devices that are used to further explain an idea or thought. Examples are to explain, in fact, and in addition. Check the table for more examples. Let me use one as an example. Child labor is widespread throughout the international regions. For instance, in the Philippines, there are 2.1 million child laborers aged 5 to 17 years old based on the 2011 survey on child of the Child labor is widespread throughout the international regions. For instance, in the Philippines, there are 2.1 million child laborers aged 5 to 17 years old based on the 2011 survey on children of the Philippine Statistics Authority. Can you identify the cohesive device? It can be observed that the cohesive device, for instance, is used to show clarification. And finally, for the sixth and last type are the so-called contrast cohesive devices. These are cohesive devices that contradict and limit ideas or thoughts. Examples are while, but, and whereas. To know more examples, let me show you this table. Do you want example statements where this type of cohesive device is used? Here is one. The pandemic is an invisible foe. However, the cooperation of the people to follow social distancing would eradicate it easily. Can you spot the cohesive device? Your answer is right again. It is the word however. Did you gain information from the key points that I presented? I hope you did. When we return, we shall have some practice activities. Stay tuned, Fernandino teens.
Maya po oras kaya kayo, Fernandinos. Ako pala ay Elwin Arl Serrano ng City Tourism Office ng Siyudad San Fernando. Ngayong bulan na ini, pagmasusyan tayo ang National Heritage Month na ating temang Victory and Humanity upholding Filipino heritage and identity. Kambena nini, metong kareng aktibidades na ning syudad, api ning launching ning bayong Heritage Passport. Ning Heritage Passport, api ning metong kareng proyekto ning kay katamong syudad, king pamanamuna ng Mayor Edwin D. Santiago. Anong nuka rin makalagelangan ding eganaganang heritage sites, heritage structures, naakit tamo king kay katamong heritage district. Makakayado din kini, ding importansya da ding mapel na tradisyon, kini syudad, kalupa ning pamangawang parol, ang poing pamangalesa. May awo siyang heritage passport, uling atin kang dapat gawan, anong nukaran puntalan mo lading at tsuking passport, at saka ka mag-selfie. Kay ba't kanta, palto making tourism office, at mamielang sticker ka rin egan-agan ang apuntulan mong lugar. At timong may ngari ang tutong passport. Balo mingeni, panahon na ini, etamo makain bisa lumal, uli na ning COVID-19 pandemic. Kaya naman kimbanwa nga ini, agkatan ko ding bikers tamo, edad 18 hanggang 50, imbis na lumaot kayo po, di na nyo lang dita ka oras di kay katamong heritage structures, kaya ni syudad. Anya naman karing mumunang 50 bikers ang makayari kay katamong heritage passport, midinan lang premium only San Fernando loot bag. Inggawan nyo mo bakit makapag-register, punta kayo mismo opisina na ng City Tourism, ng munisipyo, at saka kayo magdalang metong valid ID. Kabinan kaya kayong heritage passport, ating makasipit ang instruction nung nano pa ing dapat gawan. Anya naman ka rin hanggang kapadyakin, nanano ko pa, tara na!
Fernandino Teens TV.
Welcome back, Fernandino teens! After learning about cohesive devices, its types and uses, you will be tested about how familiar you are with them. In the next activity, you will read the given paragraph. Find 5 cohesive devices. Then, be able to identify their types. Are you ready to type your answers in the comment box? Let us start. Let me read the paragraph for you. Africa is the second largest continent after Asia. In fact, it covers about 1/5 of the total land surface of the Earth. Furthermore, its total land area is approximately 11,724,000 square miles. However, this continent is also bounded with bodies of water. On the west is the Atlantic Ocean. By the north is the Mediterranean Sea. On the east is the Red Sea and Indian Ocean. And on the south, by the mingling waters of the Atlantic and Indian Oceans. Consequently, of the coast of Africa, several islands are associated with the continent. For instance, Madagascar is one of the largest islands in the world, moreover, the most significant. Now that I am done reading the paragraph, let us start with the activity. Can you spot the cohesive device used in item 1 and tell its type as well? You are right. In fact, it's a cohesive device and its type is clarification. What about in item 2? Very good, guys. Furthermore, is the cohesive device that falls under the type addition. Moving to the third item. What is your answer, dear teens? You are doing well. However, it's the cohesive device and it is considered as a conditional type. Let us now have the fourth item. Any thought, guys? Wow, that is correct. Consequently, it's the cohesive device and its type is causative. And for the last item, go and type your answers now. Excellent! It is, for instance, and clarification is its type. Good job, Fernandina teens! I bet you are ready for another activity that will test your knowledge about cohesive devices. Are you ready? Come and join me. In this next activity, you will read a given paragraph. Choose the appropriate cohesive device to make the flow of thought smooth and effortless. Let me now show you the paragraph. Let us start. There are a few steps to follow to achieve a smooth and a flowless skin. To begin with, hence, eat plenty of fruits like papayas or bananas and vegetables, especially fresh cucumber and raw carrots. Then, however, eat taho or tokwa regularly. Avoid fried foods or fatty foods. Yet, because they increase the risk of acne. Drink lots of water regularly. Moreover, consequently, have plenty of rest and enough sleep. Finally, therefore, have clean thoughts and always be cheerful. Now that I am done reading the paragraph, let us complete the thought of each sentence by choosing the most appropriate cohesive device. What do you think is the appropriate cohesive device for the first item? Very good! We now read it as, to begin with, eat plenty of fruits like papayas or bananas and vegetables, especially fresh cucumber and raw carrots. Can you continue with the next statement? Great! We now read it as, then eat taho or tokwa regularly. Moving on with the next statement. I agree with you. We now read it as, avoid fried foods or fatty foods because they increase the risk of acne. Let us have the next statement, teens. Type your answer now. You are doing well. We now read it as, drink lots of water regularly. Moreover, have plenty of rest and enough sleep. And now for the last statement. What is it that you think, guys? Great job! We now read it as, finally, have clean thoughts and always be cheerful. I hope you had a great time practicing what you have learned from the key points which were discussed.
At this point, let us review the concepts that you have learned in this lesson by answering the following questions. Can you mention at least 2 types or categories of cohesive devices? Yes. Possible answers can be additive, causative, conditional, sequential, clarification, or contrast. Now, for the next question. Describe cohesive devices that fall under the additive category. To answer this, these cohesive devices show addition, introduction, or similarity to other ideas. Moving to the next question. What type or category of cohesive device is used when you are showing a chronological or logical sequence? The answer for that is sequential type. What about for this question? In your own words, how do you differentiate cause and effect? Well, if I were to answer this question, it would be a cause is something that produces an event or condition. An effect is what results from an event or condition. Ready for the next review question? Evaluate the importance of cohesive devices in writing a paragraph or essay. This may be quite difficult to answer, but let me help you, Fernandino teens. Cohesive devices tell the reader what we are doing in a sentence and help to guide them in through our writing. They signal to the reader what the relationships are between the different clauses, sentences, and paragraphs. Now, for a last review question. What could be changed to improve the following sentence? To combat COVID-19, the government informs the public to always wear face masks and wash hands. On the contrary, the government has already started vaccinating the frontliners and essential health workers. Here is the improved version using the appropriate cohesive device. To combat COVID-19, the government informs the public to always wear face masks and wash hands. In addition, the government has already started vaccinating the frontliners and essential health workers. Now that we have practiced answering some activities and reviewed the important concepts, get ready as we face the last challenge about cohesive devices. See you in a while, only here at Fernandino Teens TV Season 2.
Hindi lamang sa larangan ng pangkabuhayan apektado ang maraming pamilyang Pilipino, kundi maging sa larangan ng pagkatuto ng bawat batang Pilipino. Inilunsad ng siyudad ng San Fernando ang programang Nurturing Environment and System for Thriving or NEST, isang education community pantry na naglalayon para sa isang malawakang pagtulong, paglantabay at paggabay na ang focus ay ang makapagbigay ng tulong at suporta sa ating mga mag-aaral sa pamamagitan ng pagbibigay ng educational needs gaya na lamang ng school supplies, tutorial sessions, study tips, at iba pang mga pamamaraan na mas lalong makatutulong sa pag-angat ng ating edukasyon. Dahil hindi hadlang ang pandemya sa magandang kinabukasang naghihintay sa ating mga mag-aaral. Sino-sino nga ba ang mga kalahok sa programang ito? Sa pagtutulungan ng ating school administrators, guro, magulang, at iba pang mga miyembro ng ating komunidad gaya ng barangay officials at sangguniang kabataan ay siguradong magiging mas matagumpay ang programang ito. Paano nga ba ang magiging proseso ng naturang programa? Una, magkakaroon tayo ng isang Facebook group, ang Pampanga High School Nest Education Community Pantry na pangungunahan ng Educational Pantry Coordinator. Ang mga magulang, tagapangalaga at mga guro ay ia-add ng ating Educational Pantry members sa Facebook group na ito. Sa page na ito maaaring i-post ng mga magulang at tagapangalaga o sino mang miyembro ng Educational Pantry ang kanilang mga kahilingan o requests. Kailangan ding ilagay ang pangalan ng mag-aaral, grade, at section para sa mas agarang aksyon. Oo nga pala, hindi lang requests ang pwedeng i-post. Pwede ring mag-post ang mga nais magbigay ng tulong o mga gustong mag-donate. Sabi nga nila, sharing is caring. Tandaan na ang Facebook group na ito ay pribado at posts na may kaugnayan lamang sa page na ito ang maaaprobahan. Mayroon din palang Google Form na ipamamahagi kung saan maaari nating isumite ang ating requests o kahilingan. Paano naman ang mga walang internet access sa bahay? Huwag mangamba dahil merong mga nakalaang drop boxes ang ating paaralan na kung saan maaaring ihulog ng mga magulang at tagapangalaga ang kanilang requests. Sa mga nais namang mag-donate ng school supplies, maaaring ilagay ang mga ito sa tabi ng drop boxes. Maaari ring mag-donate ng mga kagamitan o cash donation kaakibat ang pagsusumite ng deed of donation form. Pangalawa, mahalaga ang ugnayan ng mga guro at ng mga magulang o tagapangalaga sa programang ito. Gamit ang video calls o chats ay ipahahayag ng mga guro ang adhikain ng programang ito sa mga magulang o tagapangalaga. Maaari ring gawin ang orientation na ito ng face-to-face kasabay ng schedule ng kuhanan ng mga module. Gaya ng nabanggit, hindi lamang mga bagay ang maaaring i-donate. Pwede ring mag-conduct ng tutorial session, study tips, at iba pang mga kagamitan sa pagkatuto gaya ng mga aklat o kaya ay gadgets. Ikatlo, ang requested needs ng ating mga magulang o tagapangalaga ay ililista ng ating Nest focal person. Ang mga coordinator naman ang mag-aayos ng mga ito. Ang advisors ng ating mga mag-aaral, guidance counselor, at iba pang mga guro ay ipaaalam sa ating mga magulang at tagapangalaga ang petsa at oras ng pamimigay ng requested needs na gaganapin sa paaralan. Sabi nga nila, it takes a village to raise a child. Kaya naman aktibo at iba yung pakikilahok ang inaasahan sa pagsasanib puwersa ng paaralan at barangay na siyang tutukoy sa pangangailangan ng bawat Fernandinong mag-aaral at kikilos upang matugunan ito sa tulong at suporta rin ng mga miyembro ng komunidad. Isang malawakang komunidad para sa isang produktibong educational community pantry ay tiyak na lilikha ng iba yung pagkilos upang maging mas magaan at madali ang pagkatuto ng bawat kabataang Fernandino. Kaya naman tandaan, magbigay ayon sa kakayahan, kumuha ayon sa pangangailangan.
Fernandino Teens TV.
Welcome back, Fernandino teens. At this point of the program, you will face the last challenge about cohesive devices. You will choose the correct cohesive device from the given choices to achieve unity and coherence among the statements. You may interactively type your answers in the comments section and later check your score. Are you ready? Let us go. Here is the first item. Norman King used to live in an isolated tribe in Mabalacat, Pampanga. Blank, he became the first Aita who graduated from the University of the Philippines, Manila. Is it A, because? B, despite this? Or C, for instance? Let us see. The new statement becomes, Norman King used to live in an isolated tribe in Mabalacat, Pampanga. Despite this, he became the first Aita who graduated from the University of the Philippines, Manila. The answer is letter B. Here is the second item. Many of us complain that life is unfair. Blank, Norman King, who was born at the foot of Mount Pinatubo, only 3 years before the deadly eruption, and the eldest of 7 siblings, and worked at an early age to help provide for the family, manage to study, and graduate in a university. Is it A, because? B, so? Or C, yet? Yes, the answer is letter C. Many of us complain that life is unfair. Yet, Norman King, who was born at the foot of Mount Pinatubo, only 3 years before the deadly eruption, and the eldest of 7 siblings, and worked at an early age to help provide for the family, managed to study, and graduate in a university. Be ready for the third item. One Filipino develops chronic renal failure every hour, or about 120 Filipinos per million population per year. Blank, more than 5,000 Filipino patients are presently undergoing dialysis. Do you think it is A, moreover, B, next, or C, otherwise? You got it right! It is letter A. One Filipino develops chronic renal failure every hour, or about 120 Filipinos per million population per year. Moreover, more than 5,000 Filipino patients are presently undergoing dialysis. And now for the fourth item. There are things that can be done to prevent the progression of renal diseases. Blank, strict monitoring of blood pressure, glycemic control, and adoption of healthy lifestyle. Is it A, for instance, B, however, or C, in spite of? Yes, letter A is the correct answer. There are things that can be done to prevent the progression of renal diseases. For instance, strict monitoring of blood pressure, glycemic control, and adoption of healthy lifestyle. We are halfway already. It is the fifth item now. Since 1969, there has been active conflict in Mindanao between the Philippine government, Moro Muslim groups, and other armed groups. Blank, there has been widespread displacement, as well as infrastructure and shelter damage. Can it be A, for this reason, B, nevertheless, or C, such as? It can only be letter A. Since 1969, there has been active conflict in Mindanao between the Philippine government, Mara Muslim groups, and other armed groups. For this reason, there has been widespread displacement, as well as infrastructure and shelter damage. Let us now try the sixth item. Victims of displacement due to armed conflicts need food and water. Blank, they must be provided with hygiene kits and psychosocial support. Which among the choices? A, for example, B, in contrast, or C, likewise? What is it? Yes, it is letter C. Victims of displacement due to armed conflicts need food and water. Likewise, they must be provided with hygiene kits and psychosocial support. And now for the seventh item. First, there has been demands for housing due to urban resettlement. Then, basic services and functional transport systems became major concerns. Blank, jobs continue to surge. Is it A, finally, B, in contrast, or C, whereas? Let me check your answers. Yes, it is letter A. First, there has been demands for housing due to urban resettlement. Then, basic services and functional transport systems became major concerns. Finally, jobs continue to surge. We are doing well. And now, with item number 8. Cities fail to keep pace with the rapid urbanization. Blank, informal settlements grow. Metro Manila is a case in point. Can it be A, additionally, B, as a result, or C, for example? Did you also answer letter B? That is right. Cities fail to keep pace with the rapid urbanization. As a result, informal settlements grow. Metro Manila is a case in point. We are almost done, guys. This time with item number 9. In 2019, the Philippines made a moderate advancement in efforts to eliminate the worst forms of child labor. Blank, the President signed Executive Order Number 92 institutionalizing the National Council Against Child Labor. Choose A, as a matter of fact, B, nevertheless, or C, to be different. The answer is letter A. In 2019, the Philippines made a moderate advancement in efforts to eliminate the worst forms of child labor. As a matter of fact, the President signed Executive Order Number 92, institutionalizing the National Council Against Child Labor. Yes, we are now about to end with the last item. There are factors that make the enforcement of child labor laws challenging. Blank, limited number of inspectors, lack of resources for inspections, and inspectors' inability to assess penalties. Do you think it is A, afterwards, B, furthermore, or C, to illustrate? Well done, up to the end, guys. The answer is letter C. There are factors that make the enforcement of child labor laws challenging. To illustrate, limited number of inspectors, lack of resources for inspections, and inspectors' inability to assess penalties. I hope you got all the answers correctly. If yes, congratulations to you, my dear Fernandino teens.
To wrap up today's discussion, here are some key ideas which you have to remember. First, transitional or cohesive devices are words or phrases that help carry a thought from one sentence to another, or from one idea to another, or from one paragraph to another. Second, they also smoothly link sentences and paragraphs together so that there are no abrupt jumps or breaks between ideas. And lastly, the use of transition words also serve as a way to prevent having to mentally jump from one sentence or paragraph to another, giving the listener or the reader greater ease. These are the references used in this learning episode.
I hope that you gained enjoyment and new information with us today. Again, I am Ma'am Marilyn.
And I am Ma'am Ivy, and this is
Fernandino Teens TV Season 2.
Ganun pala yun, no? Mayroon pala tayong iba't ibang uri ng transitional o cohesive devices. Nariyan ang additive, causative, conditional o consonantal, sequential, clarification, at contrast.
Tama. At ang mga transitional devices ay nag-uugnay ng mga pangungusap at mga talata nang maging malinaw at maayos ang ugnayan sa pagitan ng mga ideya.
Wow! Ang dami na naman nating natutuhan ngayong araw na ito. Kaya naman,
Maraming salamat, ma'am!
Isa na namang makabuluhang talakayan ng ating natunghayan Fernandino Teens.
Samahan niyo ulit kami sa susunod na episode ng Fernandino
TV!
Season 2.
na kung saan ang kabataang Fernandino ay angat sa angking talino.
Bagong umaga, yakapin mo ang bagong pag-asa. Simulan mong abutin ang iyong pangarap na magbibigay dangal sa iyong bukas. Ang suliranin, hindi laging nandyan, dapat mong harapin. Kami iyong kasama sa bawat takin, magkaakbay nating lulutasin. Dito sa Fernandino Teens TV, ang boses mo ay mahalaga. Dito sa Fernandino Teens TV, ikaw lagi ang bida. Ang mga aral ay ginintuang atin ng bawat guro na siyang gagabay sa iyong pagkamulat. Naway umukit ito sa iyong isipan, maging mapanuri, sundin ng wasto.